Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Hoboken Real Estate Advisors Podcast. I'm Jeff Bonk. We got Christian Gonzalez. We have Mark Staley back fresh off a sailing trip in Maine, who was not here last week. And today we're missing our fourth member, Red, my wife, Danielle Bonk. But we got the boys today. And we got some cool topics to talk through. And we'll get into those in just a second. But how's everybody doing today, guys? What's going on? It's almost first week of August here. How's everyone feeling?
Yeah, good. It got a little hot, so early mornings we're out and about, and then midday we try to stay cool. But otherwise, it's been a fantastic summer.
Nice. Mark, we good? Vacation was good last week. Had a good time sailing?
It was amazing. Yeah, even got off the grid a little bit, which was fun because my cell phone stopped working. And then the next morning, I got back into service, and all of a sudden, my phone exploded with new messages and emails. So it kind of showed me, oh, wow, like a lot of people need me. This is good.
Good feeling. Good feeling to have. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Yeah, it is hot out there. We'll talk a little bit at the end. I need my running coach guidance from Christian, but went for a run this morning and pouring sweat, like a quarter mile into it. It's just so humid out there. You got to get those runs in earlier and earlier.
Yeah,
So,
electrolytes are your best friend.
yep, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah. Lots of fluids. How many miles today?
Just two. It was two for pace. I got to 9:30 pace on two consecutive miles, which is a big jump for me. Yesterday I did like a 3.1. It was like 10:30 a mile. So I think I'm going to hit that 27-minute or 26-minute 5K in October. That's my goal still. I'm trending in the right direction. The muscles, the joints, the ligaments are getting stronger. So
There you
that's
go.
I think that's what I need right now. But all right, boys, here's what we got today for topic wise. We're going to start off. We're going to talk about Hoboken versus Jersey City. What are the key differences? People are coming in, learning about these markets. What do they need to know? Number two, we're going to talk about price points, specifically in Hoboken. Someone comes in, this is my price point. What kind of properties, buildings, what areas will they be looking at, and will be the sweet spot for them? Number three, we'll have a little fun. What is each one of our favorite building or like block of you know of brownstones or condos or whatever it is, and why? And then fourth, and I think most importantly, I want to wrap up with I'm a new person. I'm a new buyer seller in the Hoboken market. I'm interviewing agents. What should I be asking agents? What questions should I be asking? What things should I be looking for from their knowledge base, their process, their value add, and what are those pieces? So everyone could know a little bit clearer, like what do I need to make sure that I'm getting out of my agent, and my agent is prepared to do for me. And we'll kick off with those. We'll wrap for 45 minutes or so, and see what we can figure out. Sound good?
Perfect.
Sounds good.
All right. So first thing I want to talk about is Hoboken versus Jersey City, or you can really include like, the Heights, downtown Jersey City, Weehawken, all the surrounding areas that people kind of bounce between. And the biggest distinction I make, I'll lead us out here, is when someone asks me like downtown Jersey City or Hoboken, because on paper they look very similar commuting options, similar building styles, similar price points. What's one reason I should look at one or the other? And my key like explanation for that is Hoboken always feels to me like a small town that happens to be next to New York City. Like you get to Hoboken, you're like, I kind of have my ecosystem. I kind of feel disconnected from the city. I feel like I'm separated a little bit, but city's right there. I can get in whenever I want. When Jersey City to me, because of the way it's laid out, how much bigger it is, and like the different path stations and things that are more internal in the city, it feels like a connection of the city. It feels like that true sixth borough where I'm really more fluidly between the two, and my world is kind of more connected. When in Hoboken, you can really, when I'm in Hoboken, I'm barely in the city, embarrassingly, right? I wish I was in the city more. So that's my biggest explanation. I always consider Hoboken like a Norman Rockwell painting that's like tagged onto the city, while Jersey City is just bam, you're kind of in it. So what do you guys feel? What's your explanation when someone asks you that question, or if they're comparing Weehawken, the Heights, other areas? Like, what's your biggest differentiators?
Yeah, I'm happy to start, Mark, if that's okay. So, I think what you're painting to Jeff is accurate. Where Jersey City is more of a city vibe, so it feels a little bit more up tempo. When you're walking downtown, just that feeling of having high rises around you and towers is very different versus kind of maneuvering around a town like you mentioned in Hoboken. What we're noticing now is in Hoboken itself, on the outskirts, we're starting to see more and more. I don't want to call it high rises, but we're building up.
Yep.
Whereas they do a very good job of protecting the middle in terms of the ordinance of just keeping a certain height. Now, I'm glad you mentioned Weehawken because that, for me, has really become like a crown jewel, like nook in the area, where it's getting all this development now, but those legacy buildings that have been there for, let's say, 7 to 10 years, there's a really nice community over there of luxury condos that you're on the water, you're taking the ferry to work, the trails outside, or at least let's say the roads are very ideal for those that like running or biking and all that. The one downside is in that area you undoubtedly need a car.
Yep.
So these are the differences of kind of the different areas. But yeah, in terms of your original question, I think you're spot on, and that Hoboken is more of a town, and Jersey City has more of a city pulse.
I agree, and I think when you talk about Weehawken as well in the fold, Weehawken and Jersey City, both you're going to be paying a little bit higher taxes, a little more in Jersey City, especially with the recent hike, and Weehawken, because of the lack of commercial they have there and just kind of the smaller footprint of it, the property taxes tend to be a bit higher there as well. So that's a good thing to know going in as well. So, Mark, how about you, bud?
Well, I like to talk about the waterfront. For me, living in Hudson County in general, the waterfront's our nature. When you're suburban, you get a preserve that's usually nearby where you can go hike in the woods. For us, we get to hike and jog on the coast of the Hudson River. So I compare waterfronts. And when you look at Jersey City, it's commercial. There's a lot of commercial office buildings and commuting infrastructure, the PATH train and the ferry, where a lot of people come from New York City to Jersey City to work. And the waterfront feels that way. It feels a little more like a working waterfront. Then you go to Hoboken and it's truly public. There's a lot of green space. There's no offices. There's no residential that's right up on the river. They managed to keep it back behind a road, which is ideal for public space.
Yep.
And so you have this kind of wealth of nature that I end up using as a Hoboken resident all the time. And then you have Weehawken, which is really a mix of the two, I would say, where they did build right up on the river in certain places, but then it's got some great Weehawken town facilities, running track that you can run 100 miles on because it's all like padded, and the pool and the tennis courts, they're all right on the river. It's amazing.
That's so true, and the cool thing is that it's all continuous now too, for the most part. So if you're checking out Hoboken, Jersey City, Weehawken, you could walk or bike or run that whole waterfront and get those different vibe feels without really needing to get off the waterfront and on streets and kind of disconnected from the river, which is fun. You can feel it as soon as you get through the PATH station, which is the connector, like waterfront part there between Hoboken and Jersey City. You can feel how there's like one more park in Jersey City, and then you're very like building heavy and kind of like lack of space. Like there's a walkway, but there's no parks. Like those kind of end right as you get into Jersey City. So that's a very good distinction, and it's something that's not right or wrong, not good or bad. It's what you're looking for. If you're looking for a place to kind of consider an easier commuter option, in and out of the city quicker, like that's Jersey City. There's multiple PATH stations that are more embedded in the city versus Hoboken where it's on the corner. So if you're uptown like us, you're on 15th and Wash, it's a hike. I mean, you have a shuttle when you need it, you can take a bike. But in Jersey City, especially downtown, you're always within maybe 5 blocks, 10 blocks of a PATH station. You got Grove Street, Newport, Exchange, that make it a little bit more easily connected to public transportation than in Hoboken. So cool. I think those are all really good distinctions and good explanations of baseline, where to start if you're considering those two cities, and what you should be thinking about for sure. One other thing I'll mention here on the notes: talk to me a little bit, guys, about like lifestyle, restaurants, nightlife, community. When you think about the differences between downtown Jersey City and Hoboken, what's the big distinctions there?
I would say they're ironically pretty similar. I mean, I think there is a difference, but the more and more time I spend in both, I would just say the pulse in Jersey City feels a little bit like if you were to look at your podcast and play at a 1 speed or 1.25, Jersey City feels like a 1.25 and Hoboken's like a 1, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's just slightly like people are walking a little bit faster, a little bit more in a rush. It has that kind of New York City hangover where it comes to just tempo. But I would say they're very very similar. Just the restaurant scene in Hoboken has come leaps and bounds, especially when it comes to the nightlife. Like if you look at Hoboken, whatever, let's say 5 to 10 years ago, it was nothing but sports bars. It
Yep.
was all sports bars, and now they've done a really good job of having diversity. And Jersey City always had that diversity, where they have lounges, nightclubs, kind of a little bit for everybody. And not that a town is or an area is defined by their nightlife, but just an example that they're a little bit more similar than we realize. So
I
yeah,
agree.
I think the one versus 1.25 is a perfect example.
I agree, but for restaurants and nightlife, I think you made a very good distinction. 3 years ago, I would have said Jersey City has Hoboken as far as restaurant, like diversity and quality, and chefs coming in from the city and planting a flag in Jersey City, way more than Hoboken did. But I think Hoboken caught up. It may not be neck and neck, and Jersey City might still edge it out, but things like Barbez and these French Moroccan places and Dear Maud and more, like those places are all within the last 3 to 5 years, and I think those have added to the diversity as far as not just out of college dive bars, like not that I'm not going to name any names actually, but like those kind of more like happy hour dollar mug spots, and then had sports bars, and that was kind of it. But that's changed a lot, and so if you have that distinction in your head, it may not be accurate anymore given what's opened up
Yeah,
in Hoboken.
for sure.
Yeah, I can add. There's two things that Jersey City wins at, in my opinion, and that is population density and then ease of entry. And so the reason I mention that is a new aspiring chef or maybe a mixologist that wants to open their first cocktail bar or their first ramen shop, that the barrier to entry in Jersey City is lower because there's just more real estate. And then you also have higher population density because there's more skyscrapers. So it's more of a microcosm of what is possible in New York City, except the real estate, the commercial real estate's a little cheaper. And then Hoboken, you have well established, hugely successful restaurateurs that have caught up to the trends. I mean, like Christian said, I mean, getting a great cocktail in Hoboken was really hard 5 years ago. Now there's great cocktail lists all over this town. So they've caught up. We're not maybe not cutting edge, but we're on the edge. We're caught up.
We're getting there.
So
Yeah, the gap
that's
is
that's
closed.
that's what I see as the big differences. I love the idea of knowing your restaurateurs and knowing your business people in the business district, and that's true of both places.
Yeah.
You can become friendly with the person that's actually running the business because we're still small town. Jersey City and Hoboken are small enough. We get some chains, but even the chains, you can usually get to know the founders and the owners because they're so proud that they entered our marketplace.
Without a
Yeah,
doubt.
and I think a good way to kind of summarize that change in the area is really the maturity of the town, because previously Hoboken used to be you kind of park here after college, maybe you meet your partner, you work until I don't know, your late 20s, early 30s, and then when you're considering a family, typically people got out. So the retail and the nightlife kind of catered to
Reflected that.
that,
Yeah.
but now more and more families are staying, and you've seen really a growth because there's an appetite for more mature places.
Absolutely, that's a great point. Yeah, it has been catering to the demographic, which is changing. So that's a perfect way to wrap that up. Love it. All right, guys, let's go to the next segment here. Let's talk about some different price points and what buyers can expect inside of those price points. So, Mark, let's start with you. The buyer comes to you, gets referred to you, comes off of the lead source. Hey, my budget's around 750 plus or minus. And what can I expect? What kind of properties? What kind of bedrooms? What kind of buildings? What kind of locations inside Hoboken would be in my wheelhouse for what I should expect to start looking at? What would your guidance be and your direction be there?
So at that price point, you're right on the cusp of elevator buildings and walk up pre-war constructed but renovated units. So that's the big difference. If you want a one bedroom in an elevator building, you can do that at 750. If you want a 2 bedroom in an elevator building, it's going to be tiny. And it's probably not necessarily what you're looking for unless you want that 1 bed plus den situation, which is possible in that price range. What most of the inventory is at 750 is beautiful renovated 1 bedrooms, walk up. They'll have a washer dryer. And then if you do want a 2 bedroom, it's going to be that 2 bedroom, 1 bath, walk up, might be in a condition that needs to be renovated. You're not quite to the renovated 2 bedroom price range.
Yeah, I think that's a great distinction. You're either getting a nice one bed where you're like very comfortable, everything's very nice and clean, or you're getting a two bed with a little hair on it. That might be a little smaller, might need some renovation, might need a building that you're not thrilled with the building condition, but you're getting your maybe a little more space or a layout that provides that second bedroom. I think you nailed it there. That's awesome. All right, Mr. Christian, we're on to you.
Sure.
Come to you, same scenario. I'm at 1.5-ish is my range. What kind of places can I be considering? Just give me the full landscape of like options that I might have.
Sure. So 1.5, you're in the wheelhouse of the best of what Hoboken has to offer. So if you're looking for bedrooms, let's say you're a family and you need at least three and two baths, yeah, 1.5 can get it done. Will it be the best unit in that building? Probably not, but it's kind of like the median unit of of a luxury high rise like the Maxwells, the T's, that type of style. But 1.5 is a fantastic budget for this town. It's getting stretched further and further. So in 2 years, I think 1.5 is going to be a little tough, which is really hard to kind of stomach, but it's the way we're trending. But nonetheless, if you're kind of in a 1.25 to 1.75 kind of range, depending on your preferences, there are elevator buildings out there. It just depends on how modern it's going to be, and all the nooks and crannies of the doorman, and the amenities and all those things. But nonetheless, that's probably your typical family budget right now, or family acquisition right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that puts you squarely in like the two-bed elevator building market. Maxwell's, the Hudson T's might be stretching a little beyond that 1.5, but it puts you like in that range, and you can get other elevator buildings that will definitely be able to get you that 1.5 for 2 bed. And for three, I would be like threes. You'll be able to find them, but they're going to be probably walk-ups. They're going to be a little bit smaller buildings. You're going to lose some of those amenities that you would have at a 2 bedroom in that price point.
Agreed.
So that's the big distinction there for sure. All right, cool. And let's round us out here. We're doubling up each time. Mark, come to you. $3 million budget. Probably approaching some brownstones. Probably maybe some units that are in smaller buildings but more boutique. Where are you at there? What are you leading people towards, and what tell them they can expect?
Yeah, you're nicely in the forever home category at 3 million. So you will have a bunch of different options. The condominium at 3 million is high end. It's going to be large. You'll have a real 3 bedroom, real 2 bath. You'll probably get some amenities in the building, and it'll feel really good. The townhouse in 3 million is a little bit different. We are actually the 2.5 to 3 market is more on the needing some refurbishment category.
Yep.
The finished product, we actually have a couple that are on the market right now, is over 4 million. And it makes sense when you take into account cost of construction. I think it's a really important thing for us all to be talking about at this point, because we all saw the tariff conversation. Everyone in the world got to see the tariff conversation at the beginning of this year. And those tariffs and the cost of goods in general have gone up in the last couple years. And so the new construction and the newly renovated units are more expensive than they've ever been. And it's not because prices have gone up, it's because it costs more to buy. So that's why this finished market, where it's turnkey, large scale, forever home in Hoboken, is 4 million.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the biggest shocks that I experience when I'm talking to somebody that has a $3 million ish budget, and they many times think they're going to be able to get that finished turnkey brownstone, because that moved a lot in the last year or two. Tariffs being a big part of it, as you mentioned. I've friends and clients who bought a place right down by the PATH station, two family, three, triplex over a single unit on the bottom floor for like 2.1 just like 5 years ago, and it's finished. It's beautiful. Like I think it's 18 wide, so it's not terribly narrow. Might even be 20. Backyard, roof deck, like really, really nice. Didn't need a thing before they moved in at 2.1, 2.15, and now that place has probably doubled in price, honestly, in the last 5 years for
Wow.
that location and that. So that's the biggest shock, like not culture shock, pricing shock, I guess, that I think exists in our market right now. To Christian, your point earlier, like the demographic has changed. A lot more people staying a lot longer, so the supply didn't get added of brownstones. We can't really add supply of brownstones. So there's just a supply and demand mismatch there, as well as the tariffs and the cost to build. It's really stretched that price point quite a bit. So I think if you're coming in for, you want to finish brownstone, or if you want to have the budget to buy a $3 million one and then another million, $500,000 to $1 million to get it to really high quality finishes, is what you should expect in our market for sure. So awesome. All right, let's roll. Next segment. Play a little favoritism here. It might make some people upset, but I want to hear everyone's favorite building. If you had one building that you can live in now, forever home in, a market, a type of home, a building specifically, a block, an area, where are we starting? Let's start with you, Christian. Where are you going? Where are you planting your flag long term? If you had to pick one favorite building,
It's frankly, it's a tough one, but if I can kind of divert the question a little bit, can I focus on an area?
Sure.
All right. Well, I've fallen in love with Hamilton Park in downtown Jersey City.
Nice.
So it's just hard to explain how picturesque that area is.
Yeah.
It has those classic brownstones all in perfect form, just surrounding the park. There's something about that park that's different than others, and it's just hard to explain. It has a very strong pulse of community there. So like you just see like young elementary students, and you just see families always playing, and you just see people with their pets. You see grown men playing basketball as hard as they can, like on the courts. It's just a fun overall, like holistic environment. And yeah, I mean, for being a Hoboken homer, I very much I enjoy taking the 20-minute stroll that way with my pup, and
Yeah.
It's kind of grown on me.
Well, that's interesting because Hamilton Park to me is the most Hoboken-esque part of Jersey City. It's a very similar vibe in that little nook there of downtown Jersey City. And one thing I really like about Hamilton Park as well, and this goes for Northwest as well, I'm a big beach guy, a big skier. We like getting out of town and go hiking. We have a lot of friends who live in the suburbs. You're out 10, 15 minutes quicker than you are in a lot of other parts of Jersey City in Hoboken. You don't fight as much to get that 15-minute traffic-y kind of exit from town or entrance back into town when you get home. So I think that's another thing Hamilton Park has going for it.
That's a good point, because when you're there, it's peaceful, and it's just insane how 2 blocks over, it's the 78 crowd going into the Holland, and it is absolute mayhem, but you don't notice it. Like, you don't notice it in the park. So they did such a good job of designing, let's say, the town versus the commuter traffic. It's well done.
There.
It's well done.
For sure. All right, Mr. Staley.
Okay, this is a tough question, and I think I'm gonna probably end up talking up my book, which back in my real estate days means you basically talk about what you own to try and get the value to go up. But but I mean, I'll start by saying Toll Brothers did a beautiful job with the Maxwell buildings and the T buildings, and you give me a 2-bedroom with a view, so I get to watch the sunrise behind Manhattan every day. I'll take that till the day is done. Like that could be my forever spot in life. But we happen to own an old brownstone in Uptown Hoboken. So I need to talk about how beautiful Uptown Hoboken is. They built this area in the late 1800s when they had steamships to bring the bricks down from up north, where there was a lot of clay to make the bricks. They had these steamships. They put the bricks in barges, brought the bricks here, horse-drawn carriage after horse-drawn carriage, bringing the bricks to these brand new blocks that were really just farmland at that point, and built these magnificent structures that have withstood the test of time. I mean, we are living in buildings built in the late 1800s that have an incredible amount of history, so much history that we don't even know. I have no idea who owned this home, who built this home, how could I ever find out? I would love to. If someone knows, please tell me. But we have mature trees, we have wide streets, we have very pedestrian friendly area where there's stop signs everywhere, so cars just know they can't drive fast.
They
So you
know if
see a
they're
lot of
local. They know if they're local. They never know if
right.
they're not local.
You could tell if they're not local.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
then we have the waterfront and parks scattered throughout, and a really healthy business district. Which, if you need a coffee shop, there's always one within a block away. We still have a lot of dry cleaners. We have bodegas, the Prime on Bloom. Shout out! I mean, they're every time I need them, they're open. I'm not sure if it's 24/7 because I just don't need them at 3 a.m. But I'm pretty sure they're always open. I don't know. I've yet to find them closed.
Ask your boys. I'm sure they know if they're open at 3 a.m.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. There are people in this town that need a bodega at 3 a.m. There's no doubt.
I love that. I love that. And you said one of my trigger words, mature trees. I love mature trees. I'm a big fan
Yeah.
of like a well-developed like tree topography. I don't know what the word is. It just adds so much like texture to a block or to a area of town. And Uptown Hoboken is definitely one of them. I'll speak for Red and I. I mean, the Hudson T has our heart. Like that's the place where we've been for 12 plus years, raised our kids there. That tall ceilings, the high ceilings in the T are unbelievable. The big picturesque windows, as you mentioned, Mark, views of the Hudson and the city. The community, it's like its own little micro community as well in those buildings. You get to know your neighbors so well. Like you're passing them every day in and out of the lobbies. That building, I actually, funny enough, when we moved into the T, we rented a studio when we first were dating. And I was like, I don't know if I want to be like this on top of everybody. I lived in like a brownstone walk up at the time, but it grew on me fast, and I really enjoyed that kind of regular encounters with the same people over and over, building incredible deep relationships over the last 12 years. So I think it'd be hard to pull us out of the Hudson T in Hoboken for sure.
You love that building because you got in when prices were a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah.
It's turned into a different world nowadays. Not that it's not enjoyable, but you kind of have a different feel when you're paying this price, I would think.
That's the truth. I mean, and when we bought a studio and then a 2 bedroom there, we thought we were crazy for the numbers that we were paying because they had just jumped from nothing before that. So there's people there even planted with numbers way lower than ours, which is insane. But it's one of those things. Like, is that the feeling always when you buy a home, that you're kind of buying at the top and oh my God, like look at the run up it's been, especially in the last 10, 15 years? Or is it going to continue and that's going to be the feeling you're going to have in 5 years of having a low print and have a low number? Time will only tell. But I think all the things we talked about in this podcast before argue only for one direction: supply demand. The type of living that people are looking for is really here at home in Hoboken for sure. So I love it. All right, boys, let's wrap this thing up with our last segment here today. I'm a new buyer or seller. Or not a new buyer or seller. I'm a person looking to buy or sell in Hoboken, and I'm interviewing some agents. I want to figure out who the right person, right fit for me. The person's going to be able to get the job done, do it with, get me the best number, save me time, save me stress, like guide me properly, not just throw a sign up and throw it on the MLS and see what happens. It has actual real strategy. Let's go one question each. What's the most important question any buyer or seller can ask their agent when they're interviewing for a Hoboken transaction?
Sure. To me, it's what is your skill set and why does that differentiate you versus the market in terms of the other potential agents? And I don't want to speak out of hand, but for the three of us, I think we all have a unique skill set and experience that differentiates us, where we were all profound in other industries, especially when it comes to finance and numbers and those things. So, when it comes to identifying, let's say, the nuances of how a home will transact in terms of the numbers and trying to squeeze the most juice that we can out of the fruit, that's kind of the question I would lead with is why you versus someone else.
100%. I love that. I love that kind of like transferable skills that you mentioned from other industries and having other context to bring to the table, not having just a myopic view on the transaction and the overall process as well. Just pull a lot of things from past experiences that are adjacent. Mr. Staley, how about you?
Well, I like to fall back on the thing that every relationship in your life should have, which is trust. It's very hard to develop trust, right? It takes time, so you can't just ask an agent that you're thinking about having represent you in this really important transaction. Can I trust you? But I do think there you can get a feeling for it, and if it does take asking around, maybe that agent was referred to you by someone, just ask that person, because developing trust takes time. But once you have it, it's really unbreakable unless you do something wrong. But and that in this business, you are like, I am the fiduciary for my clients. They are giving me a lot of responsibility. I don't ever want to let them down, and I want that for all clients, and really, so all people that are participating in the real estate market, I want that for all of them. I think that I know that there's a lot of agents out there that put that at the pinnacle of what they do for their people. But if you get someone that's not willing to go that extra mile and is actually kind of looking out for themselves a little too much, then that can become a problem later on.
Without a doubt. And I think, to one way that I find that people can identify trust is not maybe a question per se, but a approach that the agent comes with. And what I mean by that is that agent coming with, let's sell this home, let's get it on the market, here's a even if they have a strategy or a plan that is really strong, if there's not a consultative approach early in that conversation saying, hey, let me understand, why are you selling, where are you going, what's your timeline like, have you considered renting this out, have you considered how you're going to patch this together with your next one. And not saying like any of those things should change the direction. I'm not trying to change the direction of anybody, but I want to make sure I understand their holistic situation so I can properly advise. Someone comes and says they want to buy a $2 million place, but like, I'm also going to move in a year and I have no interest in being a landlord. That an uncaring agent's going to say, cool, let's go buy a $2 million place. When I think anybody in this room and anybody that you can trust, to your point, Mark, is going to say, hang on a sec, let me understand why you're thinking you should be purchasing right now, and what the value and what like the strategy is behind that. If you want to sell this place in a year or two and you're not interested in renting it out, and you're not interested in staying longer than that, and you have a real defined timeline, right? So I think that's a very easy way to distinguish if someone's got your back and has your best interest, or is just happy to service a transaction and get a deal on the board, right? So I think that's a very strong point. I'm going to say, and a lot of people won't like this, but I think it's very indicative of the type of service you're going to get and the type of proper strategy. How many homes have you sold in Hoboken in the last 12 months and just on your career? Because unfortunately, not to say an agent that hasn't done a lot of transactions can't provide the proper service and the proper strategy. Every time we see agents come in from other areas that don't do a lot of business here, it many times is a massive disservice to the buyer or the seller, unless they are overly willing to learn, do the research, call all the local agents, figure out all the local dynamics, because there's, in the suburbs and other areas, people can cover a much wider swath and there's not as much nuance that needs to be considered. But in Hoboken, when you have different things happening, like you have taxes changing dynamically, you have HOAs and buildings and what that means for lending, you have developments happening all over the place that are really going to affect the way that the home values are going to be in a few years and shift the whole dynamic of the town. You got to know the city before you can transact it. And it's not as easy and clean cut and vanilla as a lot of other markets. So if your agent hasn't done a lot of transactions in Hoboken, it'd be a red flag for me, and I'd want to dig a lot deeper and understand what their approach is going to be to make sure that they can get on par and get on parallel with agents who do know this like the back of their hand. And we see it far too often, unfortunately, and then people really have unfortunate experiences and outcomes when they transact. So that's one of my biggest questions.
Well said.
Another way that I would get there too is, if you don't want to be as forward, and if that's not a fair comment, because people could be skilled and have a lot of good, strategy and process without selling homes here, is, if you don't want to be as forward, and if that's not a fair comment, because people could be skilled and have a lot of good, strategy and process without selling homes here, talk to me about the different dynamics in Hoboken. We've talked about that on this pod before. Talk to me about the micro markets. Talk to me about how 2 beds are moving versus 1 beds versus luxury buildings versus brownstones. Like which ones are sitting, which ones are strong, which ones are having their massive strong run up the last 6 months versus kind of lingering markets. And talk to me about how you kind of see those markets dynamically playing together and how it affects me and my purchase or my sale. And I think that's a way you can get to really knowing if you're with the right person who's going to be able to navigate the local market, and if not, might want to reconsider using that agent.
I have a good question for you, Jeff. So this is I'm realizing that this really could be your first question, because not every agent is all things. But meanwhile, if you already have rapport with that agent and you trust them and you want to do business with them, my question would be, are you collaborating with people? Are you willing to collaborate with other agents in that ecosystem? Are you willing to collaborate with your teammates? What is the makeup of your team? And that's something where, look at this HREA. This is born of collaboration. Like we're joining together so that we can deliver exceptional service to our clients. I actually had a sale in the Highlands, New Jersey, a town I had literally never been to, but my Hoboken clients ended up having a 3-bedroom there. I told them, I said, listen, I will collaborate till the day is done and I will get this deal done for you. But you have to know, I am not a hyperlocal expert. I'm going to be leaning on the hyperlocal experts. And I was able to get them the price they were looking for, the sale within the time frame they were looking for, and it was a huge success. And those will be my clients for life. So there's examples of being able to figure it out in any location using collaboration.
100%, man. That's spot on. Like if you haven't done transactions there, but you have that kind of response from your agent, that is 100% in my mind acceptable and just as good as someone who's done 20 deals there in the last 12 months. Might even be better sometimes, right? But the problem is when you have, I can sell anywhere. Like that kind of attitude, that's what's the red flag to me. So I love that you really brought that home and tied that back together. I love that. So, all right, guys, anything closing remarks here? Anything we want to go through as we wrap up here?
I would love to give a quick pep talk to all the buyers and sellers out there. For buyers, prices are going to continue to go up. They always do. Inflation, and now we have the cost of goods sold as well. So if it's time in your life to do it, do it. And then sellers, it's becoming evident that people are staying way too long in properties that just don't suit them anymore. And I think the interest rate environment needs to be brushed aside, and it's time to start considering what that move looks like, engaging a team of experts to just understand your options. You don't necessarily have to move today, but start to understand the options out there, because we've all been saying we can't move because it's too expensive to buy the next place. And I think at this point, you're going to be living in your home forever, even if it's not suitable, if we keep that narrative going.
I agree. Let's leave us there. Guys, great hanging out with you as always. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here next week on the Hoboken Real Estate Advisor Podcast. Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.